All right, today we're going to talk about something that's basically the central nervous system for your cloud applications, Amazon EventBridge. We're going to see how it's way more than just another tool. It's actually a completely different way to think about building smart, connected systems. Let's get right into it. So let's start with a story. Meet Timothy. He's a developer, and he's staring down a problem that probably feels, well, pretty familiar to a lot of us. It's that classic, frustrating integration headache. And here's the question he's wrestling with. His company just signed up with a new payment processor. And this processor sends out these automatic notifications, they're called webhooks, every time a payment happens. Timothy has to catch these pings, figure out what they mean, and then tell other parts of the system about them. The real challenge is, how do you do all that without building a ton of custom, brittle glue code just to shuffle data around? So Timothy comes up with a plan, and it's a pretty standard playbook, right? He'll build an API gateway to act as the front door. That'll trigger a Lambda function, a little snippet of code, to parse the data. Then he'll publish the event to an SNS topic, which is kind of like a simple broadcast system. I mean, sure, it works, but just look at all those pieces he has to build, manage, and pay for himself. And this is when his lead architect, Margaret, steps in. She sees his diagram and just hits the nail on the head with this fantastic quote. She says, "You are building custom infrastructure just to catch data and pass it along." Oof, she's so right. He's not building business features, he's building plumbing. And you just know there has to be a better way. And there is. Margaret introduces a whole new way to look at the problem, event bus thinking. Instead of just yelling a message out to a room and hoping the right people are listening, what if you had an intelligent hub that knew exactly who needed to get which message? This one idea changes the entire game. This comparison really makes it click. SNS is kind of like a megaphone. It just broadcasts a message, and maybe you can filter based on some simple tags on the outside. But EventBridge is like a smart postal worker. It doesn't just look at the envelope, it actually reads the letter inside to figure out the exact destination. The key difference is that it understands the message content. And that brings us to this core idea. An event bus really is the central nervous system of your whole architecture. It's not just a dumb pipe, it's the brain that gets every signal from everywhere and knows exactly which part of the system needs to react and how. So if it's a nervous system, what are its components? Let's break down what actually makes EventBridge tick and allows it to do all this intelligent routing. First, you've got your own dedicated event bus for your application. But here's the absolute magic bullet for Timothy's problem: partner event sources. Services like Stripe, Datadog, or Zendesk can send their events directly to your bus. No code required. That entire pipeline he was planning, the API gateway, the Lambda function, it just evaporates. It's gone. And that, right there, is the huge win. All of that custom code you'd have to write, test, deploy, and maintain just to catch a message from a third party, it's completely gone. You let the cloud platform itself handle all that messy, undifferentiated work so you can focus on building things that actually matter to your business. Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. We've managed to get the event onto the bus without writing a single line of code. Now, let's talk about the actual intelligence that lives inside the network. It's the next logical question, right? If you're not just blasting the message out to everyone, how does it know where to go? How do you make sure that a payment failed event goes to the fraud team, but a payment successful event goes to the shipping department? The answer is a feature called rules. And this is a massive paradigm shift. All of those if this, then that decisions that you would normally have to write in your own application code, you now define them in the network itself. The EventBridge rules actually inspect the content, the real data inside every single event. And you can see here just how specific these rules can get. This isn't just checking a simple label on the event. This rule is diving deep into the data, looking for a specific type of event, and then checking for specific values nested way inside. Let's just translate that block of code into plain English, because it's actually really simple. The rule is basically saying, if an event comes in that's a transaction status, and the status field inside that event says failed, and the fraud score is a number that's greater than 90, then, and only then, does this rule match and fire off an action. It's incredibly specific and super powerful. Okay, so we know it's intelligent, we know it's efficient, but is it tough? Can you trust it with your most critical business events? Let's look at the features that make this a truly resilient enterprise-grade system. So what happens if the service that's supposed to handle an event is down for a few minutes? Well, with a feature called a dead letter queue, EventBridge doesn't just give up and drop the event. It'll try a few times, and if it still can't deliver, it safely tucks the event away in a backup queue for you to look at later. The bottom line is you never lose an event because of a temporary glitch. And this next feature is honestly a total game changer. It's called Archive and Replay. You can literally tell EventBridge to record every single event that flows through it. Just think about that. You find a bug and need to reprocess yesterday's transactions, you just replay them. You build a brand new analytics service and want to feed it all of your historical data? No problem. It's like having a DVR for your entire system architecture. It's amazing. And finally, with all these different events flying around, how does anybody know what's what? That's what the schema registry is for. It automatically discovers and documents the structure, the schema, of every event on your bus. So a new developer on your team can just look up what a transaction status event contains instead of having to guess or read through tons of code. It makes the whole system so much easier to work with.
So let's put all the pieces together. Let's see what Timothy's architecture looks like now, after he's taken Margaret's advice and embraced this new way of thinking.
I mean, just look at the difference. It's so clean. It's so simple. The SaaS provider plugs directly into the event bus, and from there, the rules we defined take over, intelligently routing each event exactly where it needs to go. High fraud events go to security, successful payments go to fulfillment, and there is no custom glue code anywhere in sight. It's just elegant. And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. The first plan was decoupled, which is good. We like decoupled. But this new architecture is so much more than that. It's intelligent. The network itself is making smart decisions, which frees up your individual services to focus purely on their core business logic. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about for your own systems. Is your architecture just connected, or is it truly intelligent? It's a really powerful shift in thinking that can make a huge difference. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you on the next one.